Fear not, denizens, parade is here, aka the bringer of rain, aka father of the sea and sun, aka king of the core. And today we have a very special episode, an Acolyte episode review of episode 3. I said episode quite a few times there. But
yeah, like 3 episodes.
Yeah, but three episodes, 3 times. And I have my very special co-host, host of the Fan Awakens, and twitch.tv/UncleSheev. I have Eli. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I am excited to talk about this, especially because we didn't do any sort of pre-show talk on this one.
Not at all.
So and we didn't text about it.
Not at all.
But so I have no idea how you feel at all. Usually do a little sort of feeler without going far into it. So I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited too. And I was like, I don't want to sully the review by asking you questions, and the only thing I want to know if you wanted to see it, and we're recording today when we're recording, but I am with you and you are with me, and something about
I wish I knew there.
always is one.
There's no
born as two, always born as one.
As long as there's you, there will be me, or
stars and the sun and the sea. It's very, very. I was just like, sis, I don't remember. I don't remember.
By the end, we'll be able to hopefully recite that.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it. But to start off, what is your surface level thoughts on this episode?
I thought
it was
the best episode so far. That's not saying much, okay. But it was my favorite of the 3.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that it was the most interesting for sure. It started to give us some of the answers, I guess, to the backstory between the twins, although I think it's from a certain point of view, as Star Wars often is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say if the other 2 were here for me, this one's here. It's like they're all kind of close, but I found this one definitely the most interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think this one was definitely better than 2. But it's the information that we were looking for, and I think between this and what they did with Reva in Obi-Wan Kenobi show, her backstory reveal came too late. I like that they're just like, here's the backstory right at the jump. Would you have felt different if it started the show as this was episode 1, and then now we're seeing who this May Osha character is, and kind of reveal that mystery?
Sure. I think that obviously story structure is something that everybody has a different take on, and everybody has their own way of going about it.
Mm-hmm.
You could have made this like an episode 1 of sorts, and then kind of branched off from there.
Yeah.
I also think that you could have sort of peppered this episode throughout 3 episodes, whatever the case, as you go through. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but okay, this is happening, a little flashback, this is happening, a little flashback. My fear of this is that I do think that this episode was from Osha's point of view primarily, and a little bit. And so I think, and I get a little nervous of this, that we're going to revisit this exact moment from probably Soul's point of view. And I just hope we don't visit it too many times, because that can get old really quick. And we only have 8 episodes.
Yes.
So I would bet something substantial that we're going to come back to here, because there's certain things that just don't really add up.
Right. I agree.
So I'm sure,
I think it'll be, rumor has it that episode 5 is where everything is just wild and crazy, and I'm like, well,
okay.
It's not. I think it would be what you're saying is now we're gonna spend that time where we see Soul in the forest up until things go down, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Thank you for your surface level thoughts. You love the show better than
it is. From what I'm hearing. It's no Andor, but
it's no Andor whatsoever.
It is no Andor.
No Andor whatsoever. It's crazy, and I'll be completely honest. When episode 1, 2, and 3 of Andor came out, I was not super high on the show.
I remember this.
Yeah,
and I loved it from the jump.
Yeah.
But I do remember there was a distinct difference that it built to for you when we were doing those reviews, and it was so fun because of where we ended up.
Yeah.
But that groundwork always felt of a certain level, whereas this groundwork they're laying doesn't have that same feel to it.
Yeah,
I mean, you never know though. You never know.
I doubt it.
Same.
Because all the tone and stuff in Andor's there.
You've seen enough.
Yeah. All that's
the
there.
Episode.
Yeah, that was there in that 3-episode arc. I just wasn't grabbing me yet until we get to 4. But this is not the Andor in review. If you want to see the Andor review, check out on the Fan Awakens YouTube channel where Meaning and I did an episode by episode breakdown, which was absolutely a blast. And that's what we're doing here on the Rancor YouTube channel. We're breaking down each episode of the Acolyte. If you love it or you hate it, we're just giving our Star Wars fan take on it. So at the beginning, they show Osha, our main character, and her twin sister May around the yellow bunta tree in the forest. I actually liked the feel, the drone shot across the forest. It felt epic. It felt like that kind of cinematic feel that I was looking for in the last 2 episodes. And then we have these, the 2 girls manipulating the force and doing crazy things. I was like, they're not going to kill this butterfly, because it was getting there. I was like, we're going to just rip the wings off. And I'm like, complete psychopath moment. But it didn't happen. And one thing that bothered me is because we have, what's the name of the actress who's playing Osha and May?
You mean the adult actress?
The adult actress, yeah.
Amanda Stenberg?
Amanda. I like it. She's playing identical twins, but we have fraternal twins, so I'm like, what's going on? But Disney budget probably is like, let's just get 2 girls who look similar, So I'll look past that. As for their acting, I feel like their acting would be decent. I think direction and some delivery is a little off. But otherwise, I was fine with them as we progressed through the episode. Any thoughts on these 2 young actresses?
I mean, as far as child actors, it's always a risk. But I thought they were fine. It didn't take me out of it or anything. I think the biggest issue for me still was script and just because what was that line? The Jedi are bad. No, the Jedi are good. It's just all right. It feels like I'm watching
the Jedi evil. Yeah.
That one. And that was just the example that popped up. Yeah. As far as production of even that scene, you're right. I think that cinematically it did take a step up. But my issue with this episode is that more than episode 1 and 2 by a lot, it felt like production value fluctuated a lot throughout the episode. Some of it felt very soundstagey and
yeah.
I mean, I get it. They're on a soundstage. That's fine. But some of it felt rather epic in certain spots. And I don't know. It kind of had me all over the place. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but as far as you're right. I did like that it opened there. I like that you had the twin sisters, and they're both messing with this butterfly and holding it in this still stasis, and then she's like, "Don't rip it apart," or whatever she said.
Yeah.
That stuff is fine. I think that's character building. I was on board with it, and then the actors themselves, fine. Okay, fine. Yeah. It's not give them an Emmy or anything, but No notes there.
Right. And I just wanted to I wanted to ask, because sometimes people go, "Oh, the acting sucks." I'm like, okay, well, who are you talking about? I was like, to me, these girls are fine, right?
I agree.
Then we have their mother Coral, come out.
Yeah.
I love her makeup.
Same.
I think she looks great. Zabrak, the horns like Darth Maul, but
really well done, man.
Not a Dathomirian. They look a little different. So I really liked her. She had an intensity. There's definitely a accent. I don't know if the actress it's a real accent or not. But I like the color of her eyes and the way they did the makeup. I think it looked great, and even the costuming looks great here. And they bring the 2 girls into the city. They talk about don't leave this fortress. It's not safe. And then I'm like, oh, who's watching them? And then you got Soul peeking around like a little.
Dude, that was creepy. It was very creepy.
I was like, what's going on here?
Soul, you get knocked down a couple points, man.
But I have theories. Sure. And then they show us Brendock, right? And it looked like, what did it look like to you? Because to me, it looked like an abandoned facility, and it was like a mining thing, and now it's abandoned. What did it look like to you?
I guess I didn't really think of it too deeply, to be honest, on that end. But I could see that. I don't know.
There's
did they did they didn't build this out, did they?
No, because I was getting
right.
I was getting to the point they said they're like exiled, hunted down, and they came to Brendok, which I want to establish that means that they're not from Brendok, and they mentioned they were like hunted and persecuted, and they're refugees here, or they took over this area or whatever, and that's why the Jedi are looking into it. Maybe they're like, what's going on over here? Because they said, oh, it's uninhabited, even though they were like spying on them and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. As far as what it was, like if it's an existing facility of some kind, I have no idea. That is a cool idea, though. I don't know, like, I'm just curious, like, how did the Jedi even find out about this? I'm sure we'll learn that. If we don't, that's a huge drop.
Yeah.
But like, they're just hidden in this big mountain on a random planet that's outside of the Republic's jurisdiction.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So, and mentioning being hunted, were the Jedi hunting them?
Right.
Was it somewhere else?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that, as we get later in the episode, kind of become more relevant, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly not everything we see here is they're not giving us full truths, which is intriguing. Is intriguing, which I can say I'm actually a bit more reeled in than I was before.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at on there. I did think it looked nice though. I like the set design for the most part. I like the sweeping over, the big sweeping shots were really nice. So I'd put something on the wall. If someone was like, the first two episodes are probably nothing. This episode, there's a couple things I'd get framed.
I put a set of binoculars on my shelf. The titular
brilliant idea. It'd be very, very, very zoomed
Where
in.
did he go?
So you posted that, man.
But yeah, so they're not from here. And later on in the episode, there was a point where I was like, the room locks from the outside, but I was like, oh, this is not like a bedroom. Yeah. So like that makes sense. There's a lock
converted. Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned that. But we meet their other mother Anastasia, played by, I have the IMDb pulled up and it keeps closing.
She was excellent. She's pretty
Jodie Turner Smith. Yes. I really like this character a lot. I like her line delivery, her presence on screen. No issues with her whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job. She has a presence for sure. I think that, I mean, like, we haven't had that, like, there's characters who I liked and acting that I liked, but she did have a lot to carry in this episode. I thought she did great. Even her line delivery was excellent, that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot of times where you can't help a bad script sometimes. But what she had to work with, she did her thing,
Yeah, and I like they're foiling on the mothers. One's a little bit more like harder on the girls, and she's like kind of more like loving to them. They use the Force, but they call it the Thread. And I thought it was interesting that when they were doing like a training session, they like showed like a CG,
the actual
CG version, but you could see something swirling in her hands.
Yeah.
And then like showing two people working on the Force together. So I was like, oh, we got a Force dyad.
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me? We got Force dyad.
Yeah, all right.
What do you think about this scene?
I mean, it's like creative choices like that are fine. It looked a little airbendy, what I mean? Which it's whatever. Like I don't think you necessarily need to like show a physical thing, but it's just a creative choice that doesn't bother me that much either way. I thought it was interesting to see, like, because we're used to seeing the Jedi wield the Force primarily, and the Sith, and they generally use the Force the same way. Of course, they have different, Force choking and pushing and all that kind of stuff. But when they link the hands and things like that, to teach this lesson, it was interesting. Like that stuff is generally interesting to me. I don't know that. Like, again, it got a little cheesier feeling to me once we got into that scene where they're just, like, bickering in the background.
I didn't understand that choice, by the way. Because I'm like, we know they're children, but they're, like, really badly behaved. They're in front of everyone. It's not like it's just Mom and, Osha and May.
Total scene.
And I was like, what is I was like, this is very distracting to what's actually going on. So I'm like, in this moment, the creators are telling me I shouldn't be caring because I'm getting distracted by these kids. So I'm like, what a choice. What a weird choice for that scene.
It was odd. I don't know. It feels like this is it's like I'm assuming this happens all the time.
Where they're
my
just like,
mom, all she had to give me was a look, and
I
I'm
know,
like,
right?
I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, like she should start like blacking their eyes out when they're acting
Tommen or
yeah, Tom and
yeah.
Tom and Baratheon, yeah.
That's an interesting thing we'll get to also.
yeah. The crazy part is when she force pushes him right on almost onto the stairs. I was like, yo.
Dude, I know. My brother was like, oh my God, what they hit their head. Like,
that's what I was saying, dude.
Wake up. Like, it's a whole different show.
Yeah, she like kills both of them. She kills May, right? It's like, what is happening?
Like,
that was a choice. I would have, you know what actually would have been more interesting is if she loses her composure and pushes them and be like, that was my bad, you know, kind of thing. But it didn't go that way. But it was a weird. That was also an interesting choice too, to have the stairs right there and almost bust these kids' heads.
Like, I know this stuff is like super nitpicky, but it's like things you think about when she's
Like,
she was very like forgiving to them and sort of like understanding. And the scene prior when they came back from running outside of their little coven, running into the forest. It's like, I'm gonna push him on the stairs. You're gonna learn today.
Well, the thing is like Star Wars, when you're presenting these kind of things, it's relatability, like, is part of the story, right? Like, you're supposed to feel these connections to these characters. And me as a parent, I'm like, I would never push my daughter. Like, we're just gonna bust her head on some concrete stairs.
I was an annoying child. I've heard these stories. My mom never showed me at the stairs.
It reminds me of a friend. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want his mom to get in trouble, but he tells me a story where he was back talking or whatever, and his mom actually pushed him and he fell into a tub, and he said he was like genuinely scared because he was like, I could have cracked my head and everything. So when I saw that scene, I thought about him. And he said he was so scared. Like, he was just like, never do that again, And she was apologizing. She wasn't trying to push him into the tub.
Sure.
I don't know if she like shoved him or what happened. I can't remember exactly.
Whatever the case, he ended up in the tub.
Yeah, he ended up in the tub, and like, I was like, yo, like that, you could have killed your kid.
Just from the small sample size, I feel like there's probably holes in the wall. I'm talking like kick marks on, like scuffs on the everything. There's just chaos. Yeah. It's just chaos. Like, you set him off, and it's like, dang it, mom, and just
yeah. Because I could have seen the other mom do that, right? You could have seen the Mother Coral do that to them. But I thought that scene, it was more about like their take on the Force. But again, super distracting. And I'm like, why are you going to distract your audience from what their teachings are? The next thing they show them, I think they show Osha kind of like, I don't know if I want to do the Ascension. And then May's like, she's scared and all this stuff and talking for her. And it is like kind of the first time you see like how Mother Anastasia kind of talks to her daughters and like, and I was like, this scene's fine. On the second rewatch, I wasn't really paying attention. But on the first, I was like, hey, she seems like, a nice mom. And trying to teach her daughter something. Anything from this scene?
I mean, it's just, are we talking about the actual Ascension or them talking about...
This was like right before that night. And like they're in the room, so they're establishing...
And she like doesn't want to be...
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to be a witch.
Yeah, I mean... My thing with this is that's fine. Like, they were more understanding initially than I expected.
Yeah.
I think eventually it may have been, and I watched it pretty late, and I just got off work, so I apologize if I'm jumping two scenes. But I can't remember if it was that part or later in the episode after the testing when the mother was like, telling her, kind of being understanding that she didn't want to.
Correct.
I think it was late in the episode. She's I don't want to be. That's your life. I don't want to be. You. We're not the same person. Some of those lines felt very mature for a child to come up with. But like, that's totally fine. It just felt like they were very, very, very childish, and then they were like sort of very, very, very mature in dialogue.
Yeah. A little bit of inconsistency there,
which is okay.
Yeah. But this scene, it's like they're kind of setting up she's nervous about doing the whole thing, and they're kind of trying to talk her into it. And it leads into the scene where they're like getting their hair braided or whatever. And I thought this scene was super weird too, because they're talking in front of two other members. Like,
the dynamics of this coven is odd.
Yeah.
I also think that a lot of the exposition in this episode was a little overdone.
Yeah,
like I understand that clearly after 3 episodes, it is kind of a YA, CW-ish kind of like feel to it, but you don't. I feel like things are being over-explained. They're not respecting like the audience really.
Yeah,
you could do a lot of things with body language, which they did, but they also took the time to explain it to us over and over and over. Like, I get it. She's nervous. She doesn't want to be a witch. I get it. There's
kind of like,
tell me a time.
Keep hitting, keep banging that.
So that stuff got kind of old.
Yeah.
I will admit.
Yeah, because I'm like, she's gonna keep saying she's not interested in being a witch, and everyone's telling her to be, and I'm like, all right. I hate to bring this up, and I don't even know if I really want to.
Do it.
But it's hard to not hear the media, or not the media, but where the director's coming from and the sentiments outside of the show. Because like for us to do this review, I like to kind of just talk about what's going on in the show. But it's hard when reviews and people's comments are talking about how this is a woke show, and you know, there's thematics that people are bringing in from outside into the show. So if we're gonna say like, because I think I don't know if this character is supposed to be gay or homosexual, but I feel like some of the themes they're using here is to like kind of like, I feel different than who everyone's expecting to me to be. And I don't know if you got that too. I'm not going to harp on it very much, but it's kind of hard to see those parallels, right?
I get it. And my thing with like, a lot of people complain about don't shove messages down my throat and this and that, and I get that. My thing is, if it's well done, it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
if you're trying to sort of give a subliminal or convey a certain like personal belief through character and through story, that is totally fine as long as it's well done.
Right.
And this goes for everything. Like, and it goes back to the last thing, hitting me over the head with like, I don't want to do this. I'm nervous. I know you are. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. I could see how someone could find this preachy, because of that. I think that a lot of the arguments I've seen have just been people are upset with who's casted and like, you know, which is just not something I'm going to entertain very much.
For sure.
But I think my issues mostly come with just writing and production for the most part.
Yeah. And I don't have any issue of that being in the story. And same. I think when we've talked about it in our last review, it's more of the delivery. It's more of how the over explanation of things is going. Cause like, I could care less if what the sexualities of these characters are. But it just feels a little, like you said, it started becoming a little preachy about how uncomfortable she is. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand. And
then, with this coven though, I think they're all women, right?
Mm-hmm. They're all women.
Which, I mean, that's totally
that's how I know witches roll.
Like different. You know, maybe that's like their customs. They're typically, I don't know. You know, typically they're more women with women in this case, or whatever the case. But like, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. That's cool.
Yeah.
The issue is for me just like the story elements of not respecting the audience. When that's it. Right. I'm gonna keep going back to that, but that's like my biggest issue with the episode. Is just I watch a lot of TV, right? I watch a lot of movies, a lot of shows, and I think the longer I watch this and even other Star Wars stuff, Andor is kind of the outlier for me, and Andor is the gold standard for me because that's the first and maybe only one where I've watched it and thought, like, no matter what this is a great show. Like, if I didn't care at all, like one bit, if I've never seen anything Star Wars and I didn't care about, even if I didn't like Star Wars, and a friend forced me to watch Andor, I would love that show. And I watched all these different shows, like Eric on Netflix just came out. It's very excellent across the board. It's very good. Acting-wise, production-wise, it's all even. And that's just not the case with this show. It's not the case with a lot of things they've been making recently. Yeah. That does bum me out. Yeah. Because I mean, they have the money, they have the resources. Right. They keep getting good talent to make these shows.
Correct.
And I mean, I have to imagine it's studio notes and and things like that, because what else would be the reason that this keeps happening?
Yeah.
Because you're getting talented people, talented actors, talented people writing, and
a lot of money getting thrown at these things.
A lot of money, and we just can't seem to like. And no one's ever going to be fully like, you're never going to satisfy the whole fan base.
Correct.
Really.
Correct.
Mandalorian got close, right? I think most people like Andor. Whether most people watched it or not is another story.
Yeah.
But I think most people liked it. So you get those things, and it's not like everything's bad.
Right.
But watching this show, it just like, man, it's a little rough. It's a little rough for me.
Yeah. And again, for the record, I have no issue of what the sexuality of the characters are or what story they're telling. I just wanted to mention it as a reference of why I think people don't like the show. And I noticed it more in this episode as we kind of diving into the character. But I get it. And I do like in jumping to the scene where her mother was understanding of how she was feeling. And to me, genuinely was like, yeah, you could join the Jedi if you'd like. Like allowing that choice, I really liked. I actually liked that scene quite a bit.
Surprised me.
Yeah, but going into the like Ascension ceremony thing, which stuff always kind of weirds me out, and then like the just personally the chanting and stuff. I'm like, oh, this feels so weird, but that's what you're supposed to get, right?
Yeah, I dug most of that.
Yeah,
I thought the production value took a jump for that scene a little bit, if I recall correctly.
I felt like it sounded soundstagey in that scene to me, but they showed like space and they showed the moons and stuff.
You're right. I'm probably being very, very, very specific to a couple like, oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? But yeah, some of it pretty expected. Like, we're 3 episodes in. This show is kind of built around like a mystery, and I haven't really been surprised yet, which like is fine. I think we're building to that, but I just feel like the foreshadowing is too obvious. Like, okay. Once I saw, I'm like, oh, okay, they're putting the symbol on May. Yeah. Like, all right, so now something's gonna happen because we know that's not happening to. Osha.
I thought one thing I thought that was gonna happen is they were gonna try it on her and then it doesn't take. So I did like the choice that they were like, oh, the Jedi are here. Like,
I wasn't into it, man.
Like that?
It felt from that point on, I was kind of a little more sour. I was more invested in the intrigue of it.
Oh, okay.
And like, okay, these new people, we got this whole new witch coven. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'm into that. And like this new planet, and it looks different, and the base is cool. And then once we got there, it felt very, very, very. The story just didn't connect for me. I didn't connect to the story from there on. The Jedi like sliced into their base, and they just walk in, and it's like, oh, we have all these bows trained. Like, no, put the weapons down. And it felt like, oh, we can't let them see the kids. Like, oh, let them see the kids. But I don't know.
That I was bothered with, where they're like, hide the kids, and I'm like, the best you guys have is all like stand right.
Like you're trying to sneak in a large pizza to the movie theater.
Yeah. I was like, that's a choice for people who have like extra sense.
Very, they can use the Force. They can use some crazy abilities. Yeah. We've seen what the Night Sisters can do. I don't know that they can do all that, but I'm sure they can do something, right?
Yeah,
they're a bunch of witches, and they seem pretty powerful. Let's just like.
It's just like
it was very. It was a head scratcher.
But to me, it's like also. They didn't expect them to be there, I guess, and like it's like a last ditch effort, like just hide them. Well, we can't, I wish someone said like, should we run them back to the rooms or something? Like I don't know, maybe some dialogue, but it's just like again a goofy scene. And so I like they roll up. You have young Soul, young Indara. You got that's Trinity, Padawan Tobin, and
that one
Kalmaka.
Was. I can't. I'm sorry. Like seeing him in this episode, I'm not gonna lie, made the aging even worse.
Right.
In the next one,
because I was like, dude, aged 50 years in 16 years.
Yes, that's when I was like, it's been 16 years. No. and it's not like he's been maybe he's exerting himself in the Force when he's not saying a word, and you know.
I think my man's stressed. Whatever happened, he's stressed, and that's his like anxiety. I'll just hit him. His hair is going. That to me was wild. I was like, why even like age him up like that? It didn't make any sense. You could have had him still.
They didn't do that with the other people. They had. I mean, Soul had a slightly different haircut. He had a wig on.
I was like, this is a choice. This is a choice. I did like the dialogue between Indara and Mother Anasea, where she's like, "You guys have kids here?" They're like, "There's no kids here," but these aren't the droids you're looking for. But she said, "It's against the law to train children or whatever," and I'm like, "Y'all got dibs on kids training in the Force?" Is wild.
Look. Yeah, that was very wild. There's a lot of things in this scene that were wild to me. But
I liked it, though. I liked them saying that.
I'm glad. I don't mind seeing the Jedi in negative light by any means. I think that stuff is nice. And I mean, my favorite Star Wars book is still Lost Stars. And it's just because you get to see things from different point of view, the Empire and things. And I like that idea of not everybody sees a Jedi, which we've known forever. But as these, you know, peacekeeping saviors and things like that. Like, that's clear. But in here, they came off as creepy, kind of like space cops, but very aggressive, like turn the body cam off kind of space cops. Because they're like, this isn't our jurisdiction. It's like, this isn't your jurisdiction. It's like, right. Yeah, but we still broke into your base and we're trying to steal your kids. And then when, you know, Soul, you know, he's like, oh, come here. And when he takes his saber, look, you're enticing a child to come with you with a weapon that, like, it's like you're waving, like, if a cop kneeled down, it's like, hey kid, come here, and he pulls out his gun. And he's like, take a look. Take a look. Hold this. I'm like, Soul was up here for me. Like, I'm like, I really think this could be a really good character that I'm really gonna vibe with. And I get it story wise, but like, that's not the kind of thing that I expect to, like, it's just a logical thing that bothers me. Just to wait. I've never.
Do you remember when Obi-Wan handed Anakin a lightsaber? He never did that. The only person who did that was Obi-Wan to Luke, which was also wild because Luke looks right down the center of. He does.
Luke is also, how old is Luke?
He's like 15, 16. Like, he's old enough.
Whatever. He's a teenager, and he's like, I mean, he's going out with his rifle and. You know,
that's true. Yeah, he's shooting and stuff. Yeah,
he's responsible enough. Although he almost takes his own head off. Like, this is it's like candy. It's like a white van and candy, but in front of their mother, and it's a gun. Like, I'm like, man, you're wild, Soul. You're a wild man. Because
the scene where he like reaches for his lightsaber, like kind of like reaches for his gun, I was like, oh, it's gonna go down, right?
Yeah.
But then he holds it, and I was like, this is all like just feels so baity, right? And then to go, hello, child, hold this deadly weapon.
It's like, imagine if Qui-Gon, when Anakin in episode 1's like, no one can kill a Jedi. He's like, you're right, because there's this cool lightsaber. You want to play with it? You don't like that, kid? Like, guess what we can do? You can cut his head off. We can do that. It was
wild. Him kneeling down and showing him the lightsaber. I mean, yeah, because what if she's like, what does this button do? And then just like lightsabers through him, you know? It's like,
not that one. That's the fun button, just not here. Like, but it just felt very unsouled to me. I know there's been time and things, but what I got from him, it just felt very odd.
Again, a weird choice, a weird, goofy choice to even like, hey, we got cool weapons over here. I didn't understand her. I didn't understand Osha's draw to the Jedi, because I'm like, if they were born here to these people, why would the teaching of the Jedi be looked at in some kind of like light? You know what I'm saying? Like, everything.
And I thought about that too.
She should know would be like, they're evil, they're bad. We do it like this. They don't, you know, we don't mess with them. They do something different. Because like she had this weird draw to it, and I'm like, there's not like TV or media that she's consuming with this stuff.
Maybe it's the Force, you know, I don't know. Force works in mysterious ways, that kind of thing. Maybe. I also found it odd. Like, where did she get this? Like, it seems like her people are very anti-Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's one thing if you're like going to school at somewhere else and like your friends tell you this and that.
Yeah.
It seems like they're pretty much like kept home.
There's no other kids.
They don't have the internet, I'm assuming there.
No HoloNet, though.
I think they probably got parental controls on there. Yeah, maybe not there, but like she has just this instant sense of like Jedi cool. Jedi one cool. Of them.
What if Yoda is like seducing her to the good side, like it's just versus like, Snoke?
Oh my god! See, the thing is, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them, judging by what we've seen. They're straight up enticing children to join their cult with a lightsaber in front of their mothers or family, and like that.
I wish I wish there was dialogue where she like, don't let my kid hold that. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's my thing. That's a character flaw, weird. A character issue I have. It's that people don't seem to stand by their convictions and by what they've set us up to believe. They seem very stern, like hide the children. These Jedi, what did they call them? They called them something monks. It was like
oh
man, I'm forgetting the word, but they clearly don't like them, and then they just seem to give up on all this stuff so fast.
Yeah.
You know, let them train. Let them. You know, she doesn't want to go. Let's let them. Let them test them.
The other thing too, if we jump to the test thing, me from a father's perspective, I would not let my daughter go anywhere near these people if we don't trust them already. To like be alone with them, it's just like weird choices like that.
It seems like they would, like, judging from what I've seen, them stalking these girls. It seems slicing their way into the base, having this confrontation. I genuinely, as I'm not a parent, but even just from a character perspective or like a personal perspective, this is my nephew.
Yeah.
I would have expected they would have just taken them and gone. like get them on the ship and leave.
I mean, that's what happened at the end of this episode.
Yeah, but like, why wouldn't they when they're testing them? They're taking them to their ship.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you want to test them? You can test them right here.
Oh, right like, in front of me.
You could. And what are they doing? They're pricking them, and they're holding
that too.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it just is those things. I don't want to think of those when I'm watching an episode, but it's happened multiple times in this series.
Yeah.
Where like, and it's not like retrospective. It's not like I'm sitting up at night like, picking it apart.
Sure.
Is like in episode 1 when they didn't escort her back. In episode 3 now, where they're like, no, let's send them off and send them with these 4 Jedi to their ship inside and let them talk to them alone without supervision. It's odd.
I guess Qui-Gon did it without asking Shmi either, but whatever.
Yeah, but he was sly with it. He wasn't telling her like, hey, he was just like, sly, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just testing for infection. Just, you know what I mean?
There's so much disease on this planet. You never know. I don't know if you like it, but during the ceremony, she mentions, he's like, oh, our powers are dark, and some would seem unnatural. So it's like kind of a little callback to Palpatine there.
Sure. Like it.
I didn't mind that. The 2 moons there, I'm assuming, is now what the Acolyte circles are, right?
Yeah.
The 2 there. So the powers of the moon.
Some thematic play there.
Yeah. So I
like the visual.
Yeah. And I mean, it parallels, Luke and Leia, twins, and Tatooine, the 2 sons.
I do have a question for you after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just I some people might find it heavy-handed there too, but I don't mind it. What was your question?
So I think we've gotten to this point where they've mentioned it already. When she's like, "What if what happens if they ask you how you made them?" Or I know a lot of people have issue with that. Understandably, I personally don't really care that much. I know it can be seen as undermining, but a lot of the stuff isn't canon anyways. And my thing is, and this is kind of hypocritical in a way, because I don't think I shouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt at this point, 3 episodes in, but I'm just going to, that you can cross these lines and canon things of it downplays Anakin being, birthed by the Force and all. I don't really care about that.
Okay.
As long as the story explains it or is good. So many things can be rectified if something's good.
Yes.
And it hasn't been good so far for me.
Right.
But that sort of thing, I've seen that dominate the discourse. Not that I spend that much time reading into comments and things like that, but I've seen it brought up so much about, the canon breaking, they're giving birth to children by the Force or whatever the case. I know it doesn't really dive into it.
Yeah.
I was just curious how you felt. I didn't personally care that much.
So, again, my perspective as a Star Wars fan is I don't think it breaks any of the chosen one type of things.
Same.
If Anakin was born of the Force, I think anybody could be born of the Force and it not be special. But again, using my perspective, if we are in the time of Darth Plagueis the Wise, I'm assuming, and this isn't, here's my theory of this show, and I'm probably going to get let down. But I would think, if I was writing it, Darth Plagueis has taught Anastasia how to manipulate the Force into creating life. Thus, she did it and created the twins. That is my tie to it, because like there's too many. I mean, this is technically a Sith show, right? That's how it's been marketed. Mm. That's how it was marketed. I'm not saying that it's that, but I'm saying that's how it was marketed. It's like, oh, it's darkness and the light is diminishing or whatever. And we know he's around in some form or fashion. So to me, I would like, my headcanon right now is he's taught them how to do it and she tried it out and it worked. And that's why they're very strong in the Force and blah, 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 blah. Because there's the comic book that Darth Vader run where Darth Vader has the vision of Palpatine manipulating Shmi. I watched a video of it earlier today where I thought it was, I knew it wasn't like, it's a vision, so it could be interpreted as such. People are taking it as canon. The writers came out and said this vision is an unreliable narrator. And I think this show also has unreliability from the perspective of Osha as we continue through the episode, as we're only seeing her perspective, where I think that episode 5 we will see the perspective of Soul and what happens when she's escaping the fire, because that scene is only from her perspective, and there's others going on, but we'll get to it here in a minute. But I don't think, even if it's like there was no father, we don't know how it happened, I'd be like, okay, whatever. Yeah. She's not as powerful as Anakin, we already know that, right? Well,
hey, you never know. No, you never know.
I'm assuming she's not as powerful as Anakin. I seen her try to pull a droid, didn't work. May's strong. Like, I seen her kick a whole 12 by 12 table. But I don't know. To me, the thing that stood out that didn't make sense was the Jedi thing, because we'll see that in the scene where in the book she was drawing something and they show her draw the Jedi High Republic symbol. So I'm like, she's getting visions, but how are they going to explain that part? Unless they show like a dream sequence of some kind.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like the Force may be calling to her, because they've had that happen too, right? Where people are like,
sure,
so maybe,
yeah, I mean, balance and all that kind of thing. They're twins. I don't know. There's a million ways you can explain these things. Yeah. They can invent a new way to explain it. It's Star Wars. That's the thing. You have unlimited resource, but it's. I just feel like we're just not gonna get there. I don't think. Do you think Plagueis is gonna be in the show? If you had to bet, I don't know, $50. If they said you had to take $50 out of your account right now, Plagueis in the show or not?
Man, okay. Do you mean scene?
Season 1
scene? Like
yes, or even
mentioned?
Even mentioned.
I think I would put $20 that he's mentioned. All right. They're like, Master Plagueis would not be happy. I mean, there's there's another Sith. What is his name? There's another Sith dude running around too at this time. But yeah, I would hope so, because it feels like the thing you would do at the end of Solo, where you show Darth Maul at the end. I feel like that's what I'm gonna get, and I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. Like whatever. But one cool effect that they did at the ceremony scene was when the Jedi come, they have cold. You can see the heat of their breath, and then all the Coven don't. It's a very small thing.
That is cool. I didn't notice that. That's a good detail.
Yeah, it was a cool little detail. And then she does something to Tobin's eyes. Yep. She incapacitates him, and I was like, that's cool. Like, she's powerful. That's cool. But I feel like her power is dark side of some kind, right? Because it's all Force stuff. And so, yeah, what I like about the episode is they open up lore and mystery that I don't know about Star Wars, which makes it interesting to me.
I agree.
And I think we know enough of the good side of the Jedi. I like to see the bad side of these recruiters for child soldiers. I kind of
agree.
I kind of like seeing this thing going on.
I just wish that I would love to see the darker side of the Jedi, or the Jedi just from a point of view of someone who doesn't like them, right? I just wish it was executed better. I wish it was told better. I wish it wasn't like Soul twirling a lightsaber and them just like force. Like, I know that there's this history of Jedi taking children and all, but I don't know. It felt almost like someone telling the story with like shadow puppets and just, I don't know, kind of scare tactics in a way. Not scare tactics, but like propaganda. But I'm watching it.
Yeah. Watching propaganda. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, as the episode went on, we get the training scene, and again, we hear May and Osha going back and forth, like, "Promise me you'll lie about the test."
Yeah.
She's like, "I promise," or whatever. And May comes out and she's all smiling. She's like, "I fooled them." And I did like how another choice though of Soul going, "What do you see?" They show Lothcat and she says, "Whatever, turtle." I don't remember what she says. And he goes, she goes, "A mountain." And he goes, "Oh, you got it right." And she goes, "It's not a," and I'm like, that felt a little forced, but it's weird that they're also manipulating her in a way too, right?
My thing is, I thought that was like, I actually liked that scene.
Okay.
Because that felt like a child. That felt like something a child would do. But that goes back to my issue earlier of like, sometimes they feel like toddlers and sometimes they feel like they're 20. Like, yeah. Like, it's just like the maturity level of them and just kind of the way they act and the way they speak is all over the place for me.
Yeah.
Acting wise, it was good. But like that stuff was, I like that. They're kind of like, he's giving Endar a little look like, that one was correct as well. And like the idea of the scene, I like.
Yeah, I think so too.
Execution of it, you're right. That was a bit of a wonky way to like. That's not,
the reveal's a little wonky, but I do like the scene in general. I think it's a choice. It's an interesting choice, and not a bad one, but an interesting choice where the Jedi are knowing what's going on. They're like, your sister also said kind of weird stuff too, but she doesn't want to go. So it's not like they were even trying to get her to come.
My thing is, these Jedi don't seem like they care if you don't want to go. They seem like they would still take you.
Interesting.
Like, that's just the way that they have been portrayed, is like, they're going to take you either way. And
they also, in episode, what is it? Episode 1, they have a prison in the temple. So that's also crazy. So they are the space police in this way. Which is... I mean, they established that too, but what was the other thing? Oh, I wish they kind of played more on, we are the only kids here, and then they see Tobin as a kid, another kid, and be like, "Oh, what's your deal?" Yeah, they play it on "Oh, there's a Wookiee guy here." Nah, play on the kid thing, because they're like, "We're the only kids here," and I'm like, "Is that weird?" I was like, "That's not that weird." I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know what age he was, a teenager, I guess, of some kind, but like he's still young.
He's still young.
Like, boyish,
and it would make sense. They're like, and he's the one selling them on the Jedi thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I could definitely see, not old man Soul.
If I was a kidnapper, I would have another kid try to kidnap. It's like that cult thing where they have they have another person sell you on the cult, right? Like someone who you feel like you trust or relatable or like that. I don't know. The writing seems a little weak, still. But again, the more the mystery and the story that's being told, I'm interested. And like I said, my hope is we see a Darth Plagueis or another Sith or somebody more interesting than anyone else we've seen on screen to kind of save it. But I don't think it's savable. It's just a bad show. Can I ask you one question though?
You absolutely can.
You're not the first person who said the young adult theming of it, like CW.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of CW, and this doesn't feel like CW to me. It feels a little, I think more Disney Channel movie, maybe. But that seems a little too far, me saying that. But it doesn't feel...
I don't know.
Because if we're going to say young adult, wouldn't the prequels be young adult? And wouldn't the original trilogies at the time when you're a young adult watching it with young adult stuff? Like, I don't understand. To me, I don't understand.
It's a very different feel, though. Like, a CW show compared to Phantom Menace, like, it's not the same sort of, like... vibe to them. Yeah, that you can both be a young adult thing. The Hunger Games to Arrow are both young adult properties, I guess you can say, but like one is very different in the vibe, right? The way that the characters talk and the way that they act and sort of the goofiness of it. And I know that the Phantom Menace, and something I was thinking about after our review of the first two, the word goofy comes up on my end, and like, yeah, there's a lot of goofiness, like from Jar Jar, for example, episode 1, but it's not like it's very similar. Production value comes into play, overall acting comes into play. I don't know, like villains, they're very different cases. But I just, when I was watching this show, I just feel like if the CW were to make a Star Wars show, it might not be that far off. I've seen a good amount, but I don't know. It just feels like I don't know. I'm not really digging it. It doesn't feel like it has a strong identity. Doesn't feel like episode to episode they're that like episode 1 and 2 obviously were more of one piece of the story, and then obviously it's the flashback. That's fine. But tone is all over the place. I just think that this show has an identity crisis.
Yeah. I agree. I'm trying to think of any other stuff that happens. Another weird thing is Soul's strong attachment to Osha.
Yeah.
And like, to me, it's like a step above where he feels like he's I don't want to call him creepy because I don't think that's what it is. There's just I think it's just bad writing where unless they're going to reveal something, because I was like, oh, did he have a family? But he said he joined the Jedi Order at 4. So I'm like, things aren't adding up. And
Obi-Wan had a brother.
True.
You know, that we found out in Kenobi. Like, he's like, I had a brother. Like, okay, that's cool. I had a mom too. It's like, all right, Obi.
But that's cool. But he's like, it's in a way he's like acting like her father, and he just met the girl. So I don't know what if they tell us. Okay, so here's another interesting. Well, that wouldn't make any sense because they said that they created him. I said it would be an interesting thing if Soul has been following them this whole time, and he's the one maybe talking to her outside of.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what's happening. So there's this weird connection that they have that I don't understand. Unless he has a little sister or something. I don't know.
If he like Soul's the dark side master, and he
I don't know.
Like,
I've heard that theory.
I just don't. I don't like any of this, man. I just
and what's frustrating too is I like doing these reviews, but it's so inconsistent and it feels all over the place where I can't feel like I can have a proper discussion about it because of the inconsistencies.
It's so tough.
And it's because like I want to care, and it's hard to care because they're not giving me enough stuff that's making me feel immersed in the whole thing.
Ooh, well, there's stuff we still need to talk about though.
Yeah, there's a lot more stuff we need to talk about.
There's a lot. You know, as we get through, they do their testing. You know, they're like, oh, okay, I want to be a Jedi, right?
Yeah.
And was it Maul? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's been a long day. The two, Osha and Maul.
Maul.
Maul. Darth Maul. Okay, and she's like, I'll kill you.
She's like, dude, that was wild.
Like, what are we talking about? I'm like, I'll lock you in so you can't leave? No, she's like, I will kill you. Bam. I'm like, oh.
But okay, so you never told your brother you gonna kill him?
Never.
Okay,
never.
Okay. I don't think I have either. But I was curious.
I know I've been at friends' house. They told their siblings that, so like that's not that far fetched.
Yeah.
But she was like, I'll kill you, and then set the thing ablaze.
Yeah.
Now things don't make sense as you go from one point to one point,
correct,
or point A to point B. There,
yeah,
as she's escaping and goes into that reactor room.
Yeah, because
obviously that's where we're gonna have blanks filled in.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So, just to catch everybody up, May and Osha's deciding to leave with the Jedi. Mom said, hey, you could go with the Jedi. So she's going with the Jedi. Again, great scene between Anasea and Osha. Again, dialogue doesn't match when you're talking to a kid, but I like the conversation and I like what they're trying to convey there. But Osha going through, escaping the fire that her sisters set ablaze to her door. We hear screams and stuff. And then all of a sudden Soul's there and he's saving her, and then they're running across bodies, right?
Piles, man.
Piles of bodies. No rubble on them. So I'm like, do we see any lightsaber marks? And then Mother Anastasia is knocked out by herself. So I'm like, something went down here and they're not telling us. And I think this is what the Jedi have done to these people. My theory, and I want to hear, well, let me hear your theory first because I don't want to sway any theories on.
No, go ahead. Okay. I want to hear what you got.
My theory is Trinity goes, we gotta knock this coven out. This is not, and I think they've been following them because they are students of dark teachings. So thus the Plagueis thing in my headcanon, they know that they like have some associates with the Sith. That's why they're spying on them. Then they say, oh, there's 2 girls there. So it's very dangerous. And I think they go, they go, hey, we're here for both of the girls. And they're like, no, you guys can take Osha, but now we're changing our mind. And then they throw down. And I think Trinity, Kalnaka, Squid Games and Baratheon, they pull lightsabers and they all fight, right? And they kill them all. That's my theory on it.
Yeah.
Or they're about to fight and then an explosion happens because of the fire.
Yeah, I think that we're pretty close to where we're both vibing there.
Yeah.
I don't think that they sabotaged that reactor room or whatever the case for sure. Yeah, because unless it's an inside job or something, that fire did not. It's a lamp. It's like a lantern. This whole place is built of stone. It's like, if that's the case, I'll be pretty tuned out.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you gotta set, like, they show the setting of there's a reactor in the middle of this whole place. Like, that is not a red herring. That is like, this thing's gonna blow up and it's gonna kill everybody. But
I could be mistaken, and it was, I think the sisters visited that place before, right? Didn't they sense something, or didn't they have a conversation in that room first?
May and Osha.
Yeah, May and Osha.
Yeah. When they're all in the same, that's like their bedroom, and they had the conversation about not. She's like, I don't want to be a witch. Yeah. That was when it was set up there.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone sabotaged that thing, because if it was the lantern, like, I just don't see how that spreads a blaze through this facility and then somehow destroys this whole thing. So I think someone sabotaged that. I do think you're right. There's definitely a confrontation.
Yeah.
And clearly, unless we're doing like Game of Thrones here, which Tommen has a president there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything specifically, but there was a moment in the end of that show where a bunch of rubble fell and a bunch of places didn't have rubble, and so maybe that is just, again, another goofy oversight where like this thing shook and people had you
hear an explosion and then you hear them scream. So you do. I assume there's an explosion of some kind, or a giant force push. I don't know. Anything.
Was it from the reactor though?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right though. They're obviously committing some sort of atrocity.
They show like explosions happening in that reactor area, and that's where the bridge is, where May and Osha are. They're like, jump to me. No, you jump to me. And I'm like, well, where's the exit? That didn't make any sense either. And then Soul being able to save one, but I don't know how Mace. I don't know what's beneath there. They didn't show. They just show her drop, and we just.
Nobody dies when they fall down. We've seen it happen to Sheev. We've seen it happen to Darth Maul. We've seen it happen to Luke.
Yeah.
If you fall down a big chasm or something, you're safe. Just like being impaled. You're good.
Yeah.
Those are Star Wars isms.
Yeah. And I didn't mind where they show May at the end when she's like.
Me either.
But I get people are like, you just threatened to kill her, and you tried to kill her. So I guess, regret or
sure,
remorse right after, sure.
Passion, heat of the moment.
Sure.
Although for a child, that's pretty insane.
But she's grown up in a coven. Like, she's down a clown. She's down a clown.
100%. You're right.
They're not normal kids.
No, definitely not.
I don't think when they do reveal it, again, I think we're not going to be shocked. I think they even showed some stuff in the trailer, in a teaser trailer for like future episodes of because when they get back on the ship, she wakes up. I'm not sure if I like what happened. I'm like, you were pretty conscious for that whole time, unless you're just.
She got a concussion or something. I don't know.
Stress of the moment, right? Like, or,
sure, there's a lot of adrenaline going on.
Yeah. But in the background, I don't know if you saw, he had the cut on his face already.
Yeah.
So, surprise, like something went down, right, with the Jedi, and Kalnaka's not there in that room. So I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? So I don't know. I know we're gonna get more. There's more to that story. Did you say you think Soul was the one who initiated, or do you think I say it's Trinity?
Know. Yeah, I think Trinity is probably the odds-on favorite too. I don't think that like Killmonger came through and just started swinging without any. He doesn't like him this whole. We didn't know what he said in Treewook when he was. He's like, we're gonna come back and kill them all.
He goes, hand on the lightsaber. Watch what happens.
But I think you're right. I think it'll be Trinity. Oh my gosh, what is her name?
Indara.
And Indara, yes.
Master Indara. Is how Soul says it.
You know, I'm gonna obviously keep watching this show. You never know. Maybe we'll have a strong second half. It's happened before. It happened in the Bad Batch before for me. So and I know it's a very different case, very different case. But there was a first half of Bad Batch season where I was like, this is not good, and the second half, I was like, all right, I'm with it.
That's pretty optimistic of you.
It is very optimistic, and I'm not.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give some sort of optimism there, so I'm not just negative. Because if you're asking me to bet $1 that's going to happen, I'm not betting that.
Your criticisms are valid. I agree with you. I think the show could potentially get a little better.
Sure.
It's not going to be exponentially great. I think this will at best be a 7 by the end. Right now, it's more the 5-6 range. So talking about ratings, put you on the spot there, Mr. Eli. What would you rate this episode of The Destiny from The Acolyte?
You know, I believe the last 2 episodes I gave like 3.5 and a 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll give this a 4.5. Maybe a 5. Like a 5 would be generous for me.
Yeah.
Again, all over the place, especially when I think it's fair to compare it to other shows.
I think it's fair.
And I watch a lot of other shows, and there's a lot of shows coming out this month. House of the Dragon, The Bear, The Boys. Yeah. However you feel about those shows, they're all of a certain production level that's very even, and that is not like. I'm nervous that as I watch all of these shows, it's going to be very jarring when I watch The Acolyte, especially when I'm watching these excellent shows. I don't need it to be excellent, but I would just like some consistency, so I'm giving it a 4.5.
Fair enough. I think because we got some new lore and they're introducing something interesting with mystery. I think too high. I think I gave episode 1 too high of a 7, and episode 2 a 6.5. This episode, I like it better than episode 2 for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So I would say it's a 7. But I'm not even enthusiastic because I tried to watch it again and it was very difficult to watch or be interested in the dialogue for the second time around. I kind of want more of like the Cliff Notes. Even if they give me a Plagueis, even if they give me a Palpatine, even if they give me a cool Sith character, there's so much ill will at this point, and or let's say you just kill everybody off in the cast, and now it's like just a Sith story. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about it. I'm interested, but I'm not enthusiastic about it. You know,
it's like I agree. I think that you have a story here that could be interesting, all in the way you tell it. And it's unfortunate because I do think that there's a decent skeleton to this story.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I feel as though the way they're getting us from point A to B to C to D is just not interesting. It feels like sort of rushed in the fact that I think you can take more time or be more creative in how you tell these stories. You could have shaved off certain times with telling us how much that Osha wants to be a Jedi and doesn't want to be a witch. Yeah. Like there's more things that you can fill that time with.
Yeah.
And that to me doesn't come down to a studio note thing. That's just figuring out how to tell this story. It's interesting. What I do need to do though is I want to go back and watch because I haven't watched the previous show that the showrunner did. What is it called?
Oh,
it's on Netflix,
Russian Doll.
Russian Doll, because I've heard great things about that, and I am curious. I'm gonna watch it, and we'll see how it is.
Yeah.
But I think this may be another list of similar to Kenobi, where you have good filmmakers who go to Star Wars, and I don't know if their hands are tied behind their backs.
Yeah.
And the quality just seems to fall off. But then you have like Tony Gilroy, right? And that's a whole different thing. And And look, to be fair, a lot of people really liking this show, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a little shocked by. I was honestly very shocked when I was asking people I know, like, hey, just trying to probe, like, hey, how do you feel about it? Have you seen it? And 90% of the people I asked liked or loved it.
Wow.
Through 3 episodes. Wow. Through 2 episodes and through 3 episodes. So that's, I mean, I'm glad because I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, makes more fans. They'll recommend to other people.
Right.
I'm just not there.
Yeah. I mean, the Star Wars fan base is so hard to please. Like, again, there's a vocal minority that's very just like, they hate everything Star Wars. Sure. That's not original trilogy. That's not the prequels, right? It just feels like part of the cycle of being a Star Wars fan. And I love Andor, and I was mad when people said they didn't even watch Andor. And so I that's one of the things I always preach on social media, even Rebels. Like, I love Rebels so much, and people don't like Rebels. I get it. It's just not, each show just talks to everyone differently.
Love it too. It's
okay. One thing to note, talking about having their hands tied behind their back, I heard that this show was supposed to be about Asajj Ventress. And with that in mind, I could see where she would be the Acolyte, and then that would be like Dathomirian, and it's her ascension as like learning the Force and things like that. I don't know if it would make it any better, but I could see hints of that in this show, and them just twisting it and turning it to whatever studio notes, or
I feel like
well, we need something different.
If it would have been a Ventress show, I don't know. I mean, Ventress is interesting. I don't know. They'd probably find some way for her to be in the Ahsoka show. You know what I mean? Like, they would have
found her way to be a Bad Batch. So the spoilers for Bad Batch, but
yeah.
But even still, like, if you just flip characters in the show, the writing's still bad.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, and that's my thing. I'm actually I consider myself fairly easy to please with Star Wars, right? As long as the quality is of a certain level, like, I don't really. And that's my thing with, like, I have certain gripes, about, right? Yeah. With, like, constant new Jedi being in between 3 and 4. That bothers me. Yeah. But my thing is, if the story is good, I can easily forget that gripe.
Right.
And, I'm
You're a hater, Eli. That's what you are.
I am a total hater. I hate it. I hate being a hater. Sometimes, like... Look, and I'm gonna be honest, I watch all of our videos we make. Yeah. I didn't watch this one because I couldn't. Because I was like, I still liked it.
Yeah.
Because I was there, when it was conceived.
Just play it in the background. And
I started to watch it, and I'm like, I just felt like, I felt bad. I felt bad
gotcha.
Not liking it. That was my thing. Like, I just don't feel good for not liking the show. I really wanted to, and I really thought I would. And I don't, and I feel ill.
Like that pure heart of yours. Yeah. I think our review is great. I rewatched it and I'm cracking up. I'm cracking up, and I hope you guys think our reviews are great. Anything else to be said, Eli, about Acolyte before we wrap it up?
Yes. We're gonna get Plo Koon in the next episode. We're gonna get Yoda in the next episode. We're gonna get
that would be awesome.
We have 4 episodes left. I know critics saw
5.
through 4. Five. Critics saw through 4 episodes. That doesn't mean anything to me at this point. We'll see. It's going to be interesting once we get to 5. I don't know who's seen 5. I know you were mentioning that people were saying it pops off at 5, but I'm sure some people have.
The showrunner said it pops off at 5. I think reviewers saw 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I hope it does pop off at 5. I hope it's awesome. I hope we get a really good episode. You know what I mean? Even with like shows that I don't love, sometimes they have an awesome episode. So, I'm hopeful.
I hope next week is a really good episode. And then, because if it's a really good episode, because now the sisters know each other are alive, right? Yep. And then 5 is the flashback, which reveals that the Jedi are evil. And then we can kind of move on 6, 7, 8 and wrap it up. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'm not as enthusiastic now. I feel like I was more enthusiastic at 2. I think I'm just tired.
You know what? I'm so enthusiastic is my default setting, and I think I just said I was hopeful. I'm not hopeful. I'm not hopeful. And as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, I'm not hopeful that it's going to be a good show, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope that a couple episodes surprise me. I hope there's something, a cool fight scene.
Oh, maybe that was what was missing, was a cool fight scene.
Maybe. but I just hope there's something that I can attach to. Like, hey, I didn't like the show, but that fight in episode 6 was awesome. Or whatever the case. Right now, I'm just hoping for a small win.
Yeah, I mean, they did show Thrawn kind of late in Ahsoka, right? Like, it was like kind of like the last act is when Thrawn,
I don't have like a big Thrawn attachment, so that
no, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's
I see what you're saying.
Like, they could we'll throw somebody in right there at the last 3 episodes or episode 5 or whatever.
I mean, that's probably what will happen with this master. We'll see him in the second last episode.
Yeah.
And then the last episode will reveal, I don't know.
Okay, so let's do. Oh well, one thing I want that I thought of and I just remembered. I don't like how Indara. They said Indara was the one who didn't want her training, and she's too old. I'm like, why would you take her?
Well,
unless Sol
maybe it wasn't her idea then.
Right? Maybe not, but maybe it was her idea to kill all these witches.
Yeah,
she's like, we'll
Sol, take. You can take her, but
because what if she's like kill everybody, and Sol's like, well, let's just leave one. We leave one Master Indala. You know?
And maybe they weren't even on the same page on that.
Yeah, I hope so. Like, I would like to see.
Yeah,
I would like to see more Carrie Ann Moss for sure. And I know she's dead, and it sucks that unless she's not dead. Over under is Master Indara.
If they do that, I might jump out of this window.
I thought you were gonna be like, I'm on board.
Not at all.
Evil Trinity, man. Evil Trinity.
Look, I'm excited that we are seeing more of her. I think that's awesome. Yeah. Flashbacks. Cool. I dig that. Conceptually.
Yeah.
I don't like. Man.
What if she's not dead? What if she's not dead and she's actually a Sith? I would love if Carrie Ann Moss is in Star Wars still as an evil character. I would love that.
That would be cool. I just don't see the groundwork laid here, and maybe she is. Maybe
Darth Plagueis resurrected her.
Yeah, Sure. That'll be interesting. I just don't trust that they'll make it interesting at this point. 3 episodes in, that would be interesting. I don't trust them to make it interesting.
I'm enthused, man. I'm back. I just hyped myself back up. Even though it would never happen. It's not going to happen, but...
Like, I mean, you never know. You never know. That you really don't. Which, that should excite me. But I think it's like, I'm tired, boss. Like, I've been beaten down by these 3 episodes. And I think my excitement, they have to look. What have you done for me lately? Not much. You got to earn that back, all right?
Wasn't Andor just last year, or was that 2 years?
No. I mean lately, as in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
This is show specific.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
3 episodes. I've told you that's my rule typically. 3-episode rule. I can tell if I'm going to watch a show or not by 3 episodes. A lot of times, I will still just binge through it.
Yeah.
Just to say that I've watched through it, but typically. And I'll stand by this again now that I've seen 3 episodes. Yeah. If this was not Star Wars, I would not watch episode 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. There's a lot of Star Wars I don't like, and this, I'm not sure if I like this because I don't feel like I have enough information, besides the bad writing. So that feels indicative to the rest of the season, but I will finish this through. I didn't like season 1 of Bad Batch. Didn't like season 2 of Bad Batch. I'm glad it ended strong. I'm not the biggest fan of The Mandalorian. I watched it all, saying it on record so people know, and then they could dislike me for that. But we'll see what happens with the show. So please, anyone who's watching, stay tuned. Subscribe, like, comment. Let us know if you think Trinity's the Sith. Sol could be the Sith.
Yeah, who do you think is
who do you
Sith
think
here?
the Sith guy?
Because we've definitely seen him already.
And I think this is going to be the show that shows or reveals a character who is masked. What if that'd be crazy if it still goes with the Phasma? There's nobody. Who else is a nobody mask? Oh, Marok. It's not out of the normal. So, who was that?
No, I'm saying you're right. There's precedent for that a lot. You've seen it.
Now I have one more question for you before we go. Even though we've tried to end this multiple times. If they showed Darth Plagueis, is he still a Mun species or not? If they show him,
I think not. I think if I had to put $50 on this, I would say no. It's a guy. It's a
like a regular human dude.
I mean, Manny Jacinto. Manny Jacinto, is that how you say his name?
Who's Manny Jacinto?
Isn't he the guy who what's his name? Yeah, Kamir.
Oh, yeah. That's
my name's Kamir, but my friends call me Darth Plagueis.
That would be awful.
He's like the wise, and like the wise.
I can see him saying that, but
like, there's a certain amount of wisdom you need.
Now imagine that guy training Palpatine. That is wild. Then I would be like, this show is the worst show. If that guy trains Sheev Palpatine, this is the worst show ever.
And see, they do have freedom because like we haven't seen Plagueis, right? And
sure,
for all we know, I know you would be pissing a lot of people off, but all we have is a little story, technically, from good old Sheev, who was a master manipulator. He could have lied about the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was never a guy named Plagueis. It was a guy named Kamir who was building, I don't know,
potions.
He was into potions and botany and whatever else he's into.
Yeah.
And
there were a bunch of junk traders, drunks.
And I'm fine. The thing is, me as a fan of like storytelling, I'm fine with that stuff. Like if you want to break canon, if it's good. And like that's the big if. You can get away with a lot in my book if it's good.
Go see Furiosa if you want something good. Go see Kingdom, Where the Planet or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
What a wonderful day!
I can't believe we were like, oh well, Furiosa's not as good as Mad Max in comparison to what we're getting with Star Wars. Man, Mad Max and Furiosa are blowing the show out of the water, blowing Star Wars out of the water. It's insane, man. It's insane. I just wanted to mention that as little advertisements to other things we've reviewed on this channel. But let's wrap it up here, Eli. Where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere at the Fan Awakens, and at Uncle Sheev, Uncle_Sheev, the Fan Awakens, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, all that fun stuff.
Links in the description. Please stay tuned to the Rancor YouTube channel, Rancor on Instagram. We have merch on the Instagram store now. An Etsy store is open where you can get cool Rancor stickers like the one I have on my bottle here. Pick up yourself a shirt or two. A Father's Day is around the corner, and we have a code Vader for 25% off. That's code Vader.
Wait a minute.
RancorClothing.com. Go ahead.
Did you say stickers are up?
I got stickers up on Etsy store, and more to come. More to come.
I'm gonna be there. Nice. I need more stickers. I have a bunch of stickers all over. I need those.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys watching and tuning in. I hope you guys have fun watching our review and us go pull our hair and talk about the good and bad and ugly of The Acolyte. But we'll be here next week talking about episode 4. And hope you guys have a galactic rest of your day. Punch it, Chewie. Boom. We're out of here. Bye, guys.